Hi guys, Trevor Swenson with Through the Darkness. My journey with PTSD and trauma and stressor disorder and discussing unresolved trauma. And tonight's topic, I wanted to take some time to talk about a topic that has been very important in my life and in my recovery and in my path to getting well from battling PTSD for so long, and that was how I overcame alcoholism. Alcohol, as we all know, is a very addictive chemical. Alcohol also for me was a very good chemical to self-medicate with. Unfortunately, it worked very, very well, and it got its claws into me. And I shared in an earlier video, after living almost all of my adult life with absolutely zero issue with alcohol, I became an alcoholic for 8 or 9 years, and it was a very painful and difficult time frame in my life. But at the same time, with what could be a failure, it also turned out to be something that really not only showed me a lot about myself, but also changed my heart towards addiction and alcohol abuse, and how I treat people and how people outside of the actual person that is having the issue is affected as well. I like to interject God right away into this discussion, and no matter where your spiritual life falls, I want to tell you my experience with God through this journey of alcoholism. I'm a firm believer that God has the capacity to take away anything that you might be struggling with at His word. He could do that. Or on the other end of the spectrum, He absolutely will give you grace and provide the grace through the process of whatever it is that you're battling. And in my situation, it didn't disappear overnight. Even with praying from my family and me praying about it, I was given the grace to walk through it. And so now I think it's my responsibility to turn right back around. I know that there are people struggling with alcohol abuse, with unresolved trauma and PTSD and trauma and stressor disorder. I just want to tell you how I ended up kicking alcoholism in the rear end and for being clean now for a few years. And the first thing I want to ask you is, if I were to ask you the question, do you think I'm stronger now, having gone through alcohol addiction and conquered it, or was I stronger prior to becoming an alcoholic because of my PTSD? And the answer to that, without a doubt, having lived and walked it, is that I am a stronger man, a stronger person, a better person, having been walked through that process. Now, would I choose to go through that process again? Absolutely not. I don't wish it on anybody. It's a terrible thing to go through. But I will tell you that there is opportunity if you are in the middle of that or know somebody who is in the middle of it. There is opportunity to become stronger and better and more well-rounded, to literally have the edges of your internal sword sharpened through the whole process. The reason that I involve God in the process is that common sense says that if you have something that is broken, the best person or the best thing to bring it back to or to ask for help is the manufacturer. And I'm asking you to take the chance and to invite God into your struggle with alcoholism. He will not let you down. It won't make it any easier or any less painful, but having your Creator with you, walking you through it in grace, is very, very important. And He is all-powerful. He is all-knowing. He knows you. He made you. And get the manufacturer involved. That's my first piece of advice. The other piece of advice is to make sure that you have doctors involved. a medical team that is aware of where you're at. And again, stop with the lying and the hiding like I did for so many years. Stop with the fretting if you're going to run out of alcohol or if you're going to be able to get your fix. Just be honest with the providers and let them know where you're at and let them know exactly what your situation is so they are able to cater your detox, to cater you conquering alcohol to you specifically. So please hear me very, very clearly. Get professionals involved because it is a very dangerous thing to attempt to do by yourself. So get them involved. I want you to remember 3 words, and the 3 words are admit that you've got a problem. Number 2, commit to actually quitting. And number 3, just quit. It comes down to you just making the mental toughness decision with the help of the medical community that you are going to do this. And you have to have sound reasons when you decide to quit and when you decide to fight alcoholism. And as a rule of thumb, they're going to be outside of yourself. And when I say they're outside of yourself, it may be a person in a relationship in which you are destroying that relationship and they are telling you that. It may be parents that love you that are telling you in love, please could you address this? It could be your kids that are noticing things. It could be your kids' friends that are noticing things. It could be your employer, whatever it might be. You have to ask yourself, what are my reasons for quitting? And to be honest with you, my number one reason for quitting is that I did not want my generational legacy to be one of brokenness and addiction and the label of my dad is an alcoholic, my spouse is an alcoholic, my son is an alcoholic, my granddad is an alcoholic, my best friend is an alcoholic. I had to make the decision that that was not going to be me, that it was going to be a generational decision, that it stopped with me. It doesn't matter how it came about. It doesn't matter that I didn't have a problem until PTSD. You're already too far down that road. You have to make the decision. And if you can't find the self-worth or the reasoning for yourself, please think of the people that are around you because they matter. They matter. Stop the cycle of trauma and abuse with you. You have it within you to overcome this. I'm talking to you tonight as somebody who did overcome it, that was in a really, really bad spot, and I know that you can do the same thing as well. A couple of things I want to get out there that I want you to remember and I want you to think about even before you go to the doctor to get help, before you go to the professionals to get help, is that I want you to think about the vacuum that is created, and I want you to think about what is no longer going to be covered up with the alcohol, okay? There's going to be a vacuum that is no longer filled with getting drunk every night like I did to fall asleep and to make the pain and anxiety and depression and hyper-arousal and hyper-vigilance to go away. There's going to be a vacuum that is created. What are you going to fill that vacuum with? And it's a thing. It's going to be something like reading. It's going to be something like studying to be the best at something that is productive, diving headlong into something that maybe that you've always wanted to do or should be doing. And like for me, a key, because it was such a habit, was carbonated water. I drink probably 6 to 8 carbonated waters a night, a little bit less than I would have been drinking beer, but I will tell you that my body has thanked me for that significantly. You will see all of your numbers react positively to not being full of the toxic chemical of alcohol, and your mind will be clearer and you will feel better, and it'll just be a really good thing. The crap, the second part is that when you're not numbing all of the things that were traumatic and all of the things that you are trying to process, please have in place therapy, counseling, a doctor that can get you to a spot when that is laid bare. And that's what happened to me. Is it was a huge victory to stop alcohol and to be no longer addicted to alcohol and to be clean. In fact, about 300 yards from here was the first night I was scared to death to stop drinking because I was so freaked out about withdrawals and the detox process and things like that. But about 300 yards from here, if you go to our channel page, there's a picture of an incredible sunset over the December ice. And I know that, to me personally, God speaks to me through the beauty of sunsets. It's just something that he's always had sunsets during very key, crucial times in my life, key decisions, key happenings, and it was the most spectacular sunset. So if you go to our channel, you can see that. But that was my first night of going to bed without a single drop of alcohol in my system, and I haven't had a single drop since that night over 3 years ago, and I couldn't be happier about it. The other thing I want to talk about that worked for me, again, I'm not a doctor, psychiatrist, counselor. That is not me. This is just something that it worked and it helped me, was the drug naltrexone. And what naltrexone is, it's an opiate antagonist, which means that it blocks the opiate receptors in your brain that would give off the pleasure feeling of when you drink alcohol, the euphoria, if you will. And in the use of naltrexone, what ended up happening is that as I drank, or if I drank, all of the negative effects of alcohol would kick in and none of the positive. And it was very useful for me to experience, without the euphoria, how gross alcohol is. It makes you feel sick. It makes you not think clearly, and there was no euphoria attached to it. So the drug naltrexone was a huge part of my recovery, and I am unbelievably thankful for the medical doctors that were involved with that allowed me to fight it out instead of going into a long-term treatment facility like they wanted me to. Again, that just built my self-confidence. It gave me that badge of honor that I was controlled by something. I am no longer controlled. I am free from it. And it is a huge thing in the web of PTSD to be able to take out the chemical abuse and chemical dependency piece of that puzzle. It's one less thing. It's one more thing that goes in the dumpster that you don't have to worry about anymore. So inform yourself about detox, inform yourself about withdrawal, inform yourself. Talk to a doctor, read up on it, know what your body is going to be going through. It is scary, but I will tell you, it is worth it. It is worth it, and you have it in you. And the way that I figured this out is that part of my battle with overcoming alcoholism was a deep dive into the Navy SEAL community. I read everything. I dove into everything that they did. My goal was at the age of 45 to be able to hit all of the minimum requirements, all of the requirements to qualify for BUDS, which is Basic Underwater Demolition School, Basic SEAL School, and to feel that healthy struggle, that healthy pain, to get myself in great shape. And I give Christ, my wife, the Navy SEAL community, and my family all of the credit, along with the doctors, for in being able to overcome that. But seriously, set goals like that, because I'll tell you that being hungover and drinking 8 to 10, 12 beers a night, whatever it might be, and then trying to do 25 pull-ups and 150 push-ups or 80 push-ups, whatever the number is, Let me know how you feel after you get done doing that. And so it forced me, because I knew I was going down a road that would be better for my family, better for me, and I would come out at the end of it not only proud of what I had accomplished, but also physically fit and mentally tough. And what's that worth to you? To me, it was everything, to be physically fit and to be warrior tough, if you will, tougher than I had ever been as far as the physical aspect. So I dove headlong into the Navy SEAL training regimen, and you can read up on it. I started to shoot like Navy SEALs. I started to train like Navy SEAls. I started to swim like Navy SEAls. Everything. And it filled that vacuum for me, because it would have been a bad situation just to have nothing, to have alcohol be gone all of a sudden. So make sure you think about that. Remember that Christ doesn't want you controlled by anything other than his love. That's a very, very simple phrase, but Christ does not want you controlled by worldly things, especially alcohol. Don't be controlled by it. Don't ruin relationships. Don't make memories that you wish you hadn't made. And just make that decision for yourself, and if for nothing else, those people around you. Make sure you think about how it's impacting them as well. But I challenge you to get sober, because it is a huge step in the PTSD, trauma and stressor, unresolved trauma journey. It is a huge thing to overcome. It will build your self-worth. It will build your mental toughness. It will build your character and your perseverance, and it will soften your heart to those people that are struggling in that area, and make you specially equipped to be able to help people in the future. I want to remind you of this as well. I was just reminded of this the other day when I was at an appointment, is that the number one relapse problem, the point where things start to come across, is when you don't take care of your mental health, which when I talked about the importance of me being in regular aggressive psychotherapy and the care of doctors while I was going through this was very important, because without the alcohol, what you are grieving, what you are injured over, is laid bare and is no longer numb. But I promise you that getting rid of alcohol is going to be good for you in the long haul, and you can do it. You will do it. Take the never quit mentality. Don't quit. You have purpose in life. You are wonderfully and perfectly made by your Creator with a very specific purpose. And alcoholism is just the GPS resetting to get you to the objective that you were meant to get to in the first place. Don't look at it as any more than that as you are going through it. You are no less of a person because you struggle with chemical addiction, especially when it's tied to unresolved trauma and PTSD and trauma and stressor disorder. So take yourself out of the scenarios where it will become an issue for you. Stay away from it. It's something that is not going to do you any good by inundating yourself. And I'm far enough away to where even though I don't go to social places anymore at this point in my recovery, I can't do that. I wouldn't anyway, because it's not healthy, and I don't need to be triggered again, and I don't need to be tempted by alcohol, because it did so much damage to not only me physiologically, but also to relationships all around me. And I just want to encourage you and give you a word of hope, and I want you to hear in my voice that you've got what it takes. Never quit. Just don't quit. You will find out that you are so much tougher and stronger and mentally strong than you ever thought you were when you decide this is going down. Get the doctors involved. Consider naltrexone. Think about the vacuum that's created. Make sure that you have a healthcare circle around you to deal with the garbage that's no longer going to be numbed. And then stay away from it and fill your life with purpose, loving on people, and making the people around you better. You will be better off. I wish you the absolute best. I can't wait to see you next time. Make sure that you click subscribe. I would love to talk to you again about another topic, and hit the notification button. And if you know anybody that's struggling that you think that this might be helpful to, forward it on. Because I will tell you that 10 beers a night for 8 or 9 years straight was not a good deal for me. Not one good thing came of that. And I will tell you that the guy after that is a forged weapon, ready to help people that are in the same boat. I hope you found this encouraging. Again, this is Trevor Swenson for Through the Darkness, Not in the Darkness. See you next time.